Good. Back to why might securitized debt actually be a good thing? So one might ask, and that has been asked before the global financial crisis too, with all the tranching here, is, wait a second. If there's less risk here and more risk there, so basically all the risk of the portfolio, you're just reshuffling. You take risk away from the AAA and you put the risk onto the BBB. The risk of the total portfolio is still, of course, there. So the question is, why should the slices of the cake be worth more than the total cake? How come that it's profitable for the bank to slice it up? You would think like, yes, they can sell the AAA at a higher price, but therefore they have to sell the BBB at a much lower price. How come that it's profitable to slice it up that way? Why is the sum of the slices worth more than the total cake? And it's hard to explain really, and one of the best explanations I thought was the chicken theory. It's not my idea, but I think it's quite suitable here. So if you slice up a chicken into lots of different pieces, because some people only like to eat chicken breasts, other people like to eat only chicken legs. None of these like to buy a whole chicken, because then you have to throw half of it away. But if you slice it up, you can specialize to all these different customers, and you can sell the different slices in the sum at a higher price than the whole chicken. And that translates beautifully to our tranches. For example, insurance companies are not allowed to buy BBB bonds. They are only allowed to buy AAA bonds. And they would also not be allowed to buy simply loans, mortgage loans. But by creating AAA bonds here, AAA tranches, all of a sudden you have insurance companies as customers. Similar with BBB, there's some speculators in the market. They like risky, high return assets, junk bonds. They're not interested in mortgages, they're too boring. But they might be interested in cheap, possibly high return BBB. So you're specializing on your different customers, and therefore you can sell all different tranches together at a higher price than simply the whole portfolio. I think that's pretty much one of the best explanations why the whole market was working so well, apart from that you just trick people too. So going into a little bit more detail of why is securitization so nice for the banks? Improves maturity mismatch. Remember, loans are long-term, long durations. That's a problem because we finance with short-term deposits. Now, if you sell these loans off, and possibly even buy securitized mortgages from other banks as AAA papers. AAA papers that are traded in the market are considered very liquid. So we have less maturity mismatch on our balance sheet. So the banks are happy just by selling these loans to each other. As long as they're securitized, they count as liquid. Reduces prepayment risk. Now, I haven't said in this class what prepayment risk is. Some mortgages have the right to repay the whole mortgage earlier. So instead of getting our 8% return each year on our loans, maybe the customer comes in and says, here, I repay everything in one go, leave me alone. And that means we can't make our 8% profits in the future anymore. That's a risk for the bank, that somebody might repay too early, and we can't make profits. By selling all these loans to somebody else, we don't have to worry about this risk anymore. Increased liquidity, so because these bonds or securities are traded, we can see how much they're worth. So the top tranches are, of course, very liquid. The AAA, they're traded very well, and there was lots of trading of them. And we can diversify. So a bank in England, for example, can now buy a AAA tranche from the US and be then diversified, because now they're exposed to US risk instead of UK risk. And the more you diversify worldwide, the lower your personal risk is. That's one of the reasons why these mortgage-backed securities and CDOs have been sold all over the world. Because people thought in Germany, Australia not that much, but all over the world thought that's fantastic. I get risk exposure to the US. The US market has not that much to do with my local market. I get diversified. The bank can specialize on just writing new loans. They don't have to keep the loans on the book. But this one here I find especially important, avoidance of bank regulation. Remember my example from the start of the class, where the bank had 100 in risky assets and 10 in equity, and they were stuck, they couldn't grow anymore. Now with securitization, you just keep on selling your loans and you can grow infinitely. You can give out more and more loans and just sell them on. So it's huge for profits, of course. and you don't get any worries with your capital requirements. That's similar to what I said beforehand. So some investors after a certain kind of risk profile, for example, the risk profile that we had in our calculation example, that you get either all money back or none. If you're a gambler for this type of thing, there was no product in the market beforehand. Now with the BBB tranche, there's a product that is interesting to some people. Liquidity, we got that one already. So now go to the global financial crisis.